Well, I'm Merton Homer of Fossil, Oregon. That's where we originated from, and we helped start Painted Hills Natural Beef. I don't know nothing but cattle. I grew up on a cattle ranch. My 5 generations before me did in California, and then I moved because I was starving to death there, so I moved up here. So then this came around, and we started with the beef thing, and we think as much of the beef company as we do the ranching. You know, I mean, we're all in 100%. Yeah, we've come from nowhere. We started at nothing. I'm very proud of it, of course, as you can tell. Pretty good sized company actually for out here at Fossil. It's a big company. We had it in mind when we did this. When we had the ranch, and the ranch wasn't big enough for the boys to come back to, and so maybe by this happening or something, there's a chance that they could work here or work, somewhere on the ranch or whatever. And of course, we've built our ranch a lot bigger. And of course, it's ended up to be perfect because Will runs Painted Hills Natural Beef, which is my oldest boy, and the other one runs a ranch, which is just perfect. It worked out just like planned.
I am Will Homer with Painted Hills Natural Beef. I'm the Chief Operating Officer, I guess. And I am a member, owner, and a partner in the company along with my wife, Gabrielle. We were just trying to create something different. And what I've found in research here years later is that beef, I remember as a kid or working on the ranch, cattle getting bigger and bonier and grow faster and all those things that producers do to make the scale go down, so to speak. And so in the 90s, right in there in reading in history, we see that consumer quality went down. So it hurt demand. And so here in our network and out here in Wheeler County, every producer wants to do a better job all the time. They want to do the best job they can. And they felt like they had a better product. So they created a better product, Painted Hills Premium Beef. And we quickly found that we didn't have anything to market, anything different. And so it didn't take very long. We took the hormones and the antibiotics out of the feeding practice, the finishing process, slowed it down, made it less efficient, but made it eat better. The result was it ate better. And it gave us a point of difference. So suddenly we could go to a store, we could go to someone, and not only could our producers go there, take the product from the store manager, cook it for a consumer and give it to them and say, oh, isn't beef good? But they could actually say, isn't our beef good? And the consumer would react to that. Oh, hey, this is really good. How did you cook it? What'd you put on it? And we don't do any manipulation so that we can show you that we create a great product every day. And that's what we do different. That's the process of Painted Hills in a nutshell. So for Painted Hills Natural Beef, our attributes are we use no hormones in the cattle at all, anywhere. And we do not allow the use of antibiotics, which means that a calf that gets sick on the ranch is identified, does not make it in the program, or a calf that enters the feeding and finishing process that gets sick somewhere along the way has to be administered antibiotics, and we do allow that. It's about the safety and security of the animals, but they are not allowed in the program as well. It's the attributes that go along with it, the no hormones, no antibiotics. Those are the things that classify us differently and create actually a better eating experience at the end of the day. Now the grass-fed attributes are a little different because we did the grass-fed, no added hormone, no hormones, no antibiotics. The added part is we did cattle that came from the grass and came from the pasture, went straight to harvest, and then they never saw any corn. So we put the corn-free diet in there, trying to stay away from GMO corns.
Most of our cattle are choice. That's what we feed for is choice, but we get prime, quite a lot of prime.
I just want them to know that we're working as hard as we can to make sure the product is consistent and good every time. Every time they spend their money, I want them to have a good experience. I want them to think about Painted Hills and think about that's a great place to spend my money, a great place. I'm so overwhelmed when somebody says, I'm just a Painted Hills, I love Painted Hills, and I don't know. I don't know if it's pride or it's just I'm very thankful for that.
I think our main thing is that it's got good flavor. The flavor is what makes our beef really good. We seem to have the right mixture of what we feed them and what they eat out on the hills and all. And then secondly, our meat is always the same. It never varies. If you buy a steak today and 6 months from now, they're all gonna taste the same. Our clientele stay with us, hell or high water. This is the easy way to cook a steak, medium rare. A steak you throw on the grill, doesn't matter how hot it is. Put it on there, it'll come to a shine, just a little shine on it. Turn it over, and half the time it'll have a shine. It'll come back to the steak again. Take it off. It's medium rare. It's perfect. You can't miss. It even works if the steak's frozen. It's really simple. You ask a chef, well, I have lots. What's the easiest way you can tell me how to cook a steak? And they go through with all this 320 for this long and something else for that long and all that. The best way to do it is just the way I told you. Works every time.
When you're grilling a steak, or even if you got a tri-tip or something on a grill of any kind, it doesn't matter how much heat you have or how much time. We don't like to mess with any of those things. We like to know by feel what it feels like. So there's two things, actually there's two things you work together. One of them's the feel. The finger method works perfectly, and that is if you put your fingers together and you put your first finger and your thumb together and you push on that part of your hand right there, it's too soft, that's too rare. You get to number 2, you get to your middle finger and it starts to show a little pressure. That's where I like to stop. I like that steak to stop, give a little bit of pushback on you. That's gonna be medium rare, but you let that one rest. And if you get on out here to your ring finger or your pinky finger, that part of your hand gets real hard, and that's too far. You've gone too far. The other key, and I don't know if Dad went through his secret to cooking a steak, and he likes to bring it up, even with a chef, because he tell the chef, says, do you know how to cook a steak? And the chef will sit back and say, of course I do, but then he'll kind of turn around, how do you do it? To cook a steak, it's really all about the water. So it doesn't matter what heat you have, what temperature you have, you're putting it on your grill, and you leave it on there and you let it set, and what you're watching for is when it starts to shine on the top, that means the water's starting to come through. You don't want it to bubble. If it's starting to bubble, the thin parts you see a bubble, turn it over, turn them all over, and you just let them set. Don't touch them, don't mess with them, don't turn them around. Just let them set until you start to see that shine and that moisture start to come again, and yard them off. Then let them sit in that pan for 7 or 8 minutes. Let them cool down. We don't have to eat a steak sizzling hot, because you cut that steak while it's sizzling hot like that, all you're gonna have is a plate full of juice and a dry steak. But if you let it sit there, you're gonna have a nice warm steak, and you have all that tender and all that juice. And how many people are still picking the steak up off the table after it's been there for 45 minutes? So you're not worried about the heat. We want that moisture in there, nice and juicy.